Good evening, John Wirtz, Montgomery County Tea Party, here with Andrea Konzem. She's running for Shenandoah City Council Position 2 and is March 6, 2019. With me is David Smith, James Byers, Del Fessenden, and Larry Rogers. And Andrea, as we discussed, you are welcome to open it up with up to 5 minutes opening, and then we'll go through the Q&A process after that, and then we'll finish up with a closing.
Okay. My name is Andrea Konzem. I moved here in 1986, and I've been living in Shenandoah, seen lots of changes here, and I'm running for Shenandoah Position 2, City Council Position 2.
How long have you been a resident
For 33 years.
in Shenandoah? All right, sounds good. Well, we just start from there. Why are you running in particular for this position? Because I think there were a couple other positions open, right?
I know of one other position, but I was running for position 2 because it's just the one I chose. And I am running because I want to see some changes in the city that I feel need to be made.
What type of changes?
I feel like we need to cut spending, and I want to change the focus because I want to also eventually move our city in the direction of a property tax, no property tax.
Okay, aren't they, right now, isn't the property taxes pretty low compared to other taxing potentials in the city?
It is.
Do you feel like the city's not moving in that direction? And what is the property taxes right now? Do you know what the revenue is derived from the property tax?
No, I don't know.
Okay. All right. When you say spending is too much, how much is it compared to where it was 2 years ago, say percent-wise? Or dollar amount-wise, whatever.
Well, I just have a real concern that they did not go out for bids for a city attorney, and then, because I specifically did an open records for that, and they did not do that. And then I feel like the contracts that they renew are not being put out, they're not being advertised, that they're put out for bid.
Okay. All right, Dave?
So, recently, some new construction's been approved in terms of apartments. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I was really hoping that they wouldn't put apartments over here because I feel like they need to have some retail revenue producing properties, and I don't see that in apartments.
Do you have any kind of idea what that might be, retail revenue?
Well, like the Portofino's full of it, and to work toward having a property tax-free city, you need to have this retail revenue.
I really like your answers on the questionnaire. You're obviously not a politician, and you're very inexperienced with providing a lot of fluff to avoid the issue. Just real straightforward. And I think the people watching this will appreciate that. So I'm not going to be asking you a lot of stuff about details like you were the city manager or something like that. I want you to portray your general feeling and understanding. Matter of fact, your questions you specified about what you want to do. One of the things I found interesting, and I think people like to hear about, is changing the focus of the city council from serving themselves to serving the people. You're a citizen there. You've lived there, what, 31 years, Andrea?
33.
33 years. So, let everybody know what's the city council doing that's just for themselves, and what do you want them to do to focus on, any particular area you want them to focus on that are the needs of the people?
I really don't see the point in paying city council's insurance. The citizens
The
should
council
not-
members' insurance?
Yes, the council members' insurance. I have a big issue with that.
What type of insurance are they paying?
Their health insurance,
Didn't know that.
yeah. And it's
City
not,
pays 75%.
Wow.
As a councilman?
Well,
Go ahead. Sorry, Andrea. We're just reacting. Go ahead.
well, I don't feel that the citizens should have to pay that.
Right.
I mean, there is one particular city here in the state of Texas that I have contacted that have a property tax, no property tax. And I contacted them and I asked them, I said, do you pay your council members? And he said, yes, they get a stipend. And I said, okay, do you provide health insurance for them? And he said, no. Okay. And then there were other questions that I had for him and that I talked to him about, which I found very interesting. And I asked him if I had more questions, if I could call him back, and he, sure. So, I just don't think that that's where our citizens or residents' money needs to be spent, is on their health insurance.
Oh, their benefits, them being
Yeah.
rewarded for serving their city.
Right, and then plus, some of them don't own property in the city, and I don't think that's,
Really?
I mean, they're council members, okay, fine, but they don't own property in the city, and we are providing health insurance for them and their family. I
You know how
don't,
much they're paying? How much that is?
oh, it was mentioned to me the other day.
Are they on the employee plan?
I believe so.
When you said that
Hold on
some,
one second, we'll come
Okay.
back around. Dell, hold that thought.
Okay, John led off with a question about why you ran for position 2. Let me pose somewhat of a different question along those lines. If you had to choose one councilwoman that you wanted to emulate, that you considered to be the best, the most effective, your favorite councilman, who would that be?
My favorite councilman. I really couldn't say.
Okay. How long have you been attending the council meetings?
I attended them for a while, and then I stopped going, and I just watch them by video now.
Okay. And I watch some things by video too. That is a very excellent way of being able to do that when you're not able to actually get there. So
I
that's
work
good.
late sometimes till 9 o'clock, and I work for an attorney, and she sometimes has trial, and I have to help her prepare for
Okay.
trial, and it takes up to 9 or 10 o'clock at night sometimes.
I understand. So what was the impetus for you to run in 2019? Why didn't you run in 2017, 2015? Why now versus previous? Because you've been in Shenandoah for 33 years. So what's different about this year?
Well, my daughter graduated, and I had always said that when she graduated, and I didn't have to pay such close attention to things that were going on in her life, that I would run. Well, then after she graduated, my father died, my brother died, and then my mother got sick, and I quit work to stay home and take care of her. And then my son-in-law was killed. So it hasn't been a good time. The opportunity, it just wasn't, the timing was off. So I feel like now is my time.
Okay, good enough. Larry?
Approximately how many meetings have you watched, either by video or attended in person?
How many meetings have I watched?
Or attended?
Well, the last one that I watched, well, I was going to them pretty frequently there for a while.
In the past year?
I want to say it was 2 years ago I was going pretty frequently. But I take care of 2 little girls because my daughter, her husband was killed, and she has to have help because she's the only provider. And so I took care of her 2 children.
So while you're looking up that next question, how many, I guess the question was how many meetings? And so would you say going back over the last 2 years, or 4 years, or 5 years, and about how many per year?
Have I attended?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, when did you start attending and kind of paying attention to this
Oh.
council or the council in general? And then, how many meetings?
Let me think here.
Just ballpark.
Well, then for a while I was going pretty regularly. And I have no idea how many. I mean,
Over the last, what, 2 years or
Mhm.
5 years or?
yeah.
How often do they meet?
They meet twice a month. Although this month, I think, because of spring break, they were going to pass that meeting.
I still have some time. Have you or any of your family members been employed or working on a contract with either city or county? You said your daughter.
My daughter works for the city of Shenandoah right now.
How long has she worked?
She's been there, I think she's been there a little over 2 years maybe.
If you're elected, will that present any problems? Or do they have a
Policy.
policy that says that you can't work in the same?
Well, on the council before this one, there was a family member, I understand there was a family member with his daughter-in-law working there. Then before that, there was a councilman and his wife worked for the city. So I don't foresee any issues.
Yeah, I think there's a policy. All right. So she'll stay if you're elected?
Yeah, she was told that she would possibly be asked to, I guess, quit or something.
Oh,
She is, well, I don't think they actually told her that. They said that the city attorney was checking into it.
okay. How much? Yield to you?
What position is she in right now?
She is the tourism specialist at the CVB.
What happens if there comes a vote where you gotta vote on the CBB? What do you do in that case?
I guess I'm gonna have to recuse myself.
Okay.
I don't guess, I will.
All right. On one of my questions, do you support or oppose creation of improvement districts and economic development districts? Why or why not? And you said, I support them only based on sales tax revenue. Can you kind of explain that?
Well, again, that's the income, and that's the only way that I would support that.
What about issuing abatements to companies coming in? If you're in competition with, say, the Woodlands and Conroe and Magnolia and Montgomery, what's your feelings about throwing out abatements to attract companies in the Shenandoah?
If there's any kind of revenue to be made from it, I'm for it.
Any type of revenue or?
Well, revenue for the city, that's going to benefit the city.
Okay. Dave?
I'm gonna go back to the question that James asked you. So when you say that the city council members are not property owners, but they are legal residents, right?
Yes,
Okay. They just rent or something like that?
exactly.
Okay. So if you had to, change questions now, if you had to talk about the three hot buttons, that gets you excited, where do you want to make the changes? What do you think, the three top items that you're going to focus for in your first 90 days? What are you going to?
I'm gonna push the issue to cut taxes. I'm not cutting taxes, cut spending. They've got some frivolous spending, I feel like. And there's also, like a community center that I want to implement, and then also a community garden, because if we go to the point to where there's no food for people, people need to learn how to grow their own food. I just feel like that. I do it myself right now, and that is a big issue with me. I teach my grandchildren the same thing.
So the community center, is that like a building like this?
I don't know if it would be as big as this, but yeah,
Okay.
something where people could get together and have like what they're doing here as far as quilting or,
And the other one, the community garden, is I've seen them in Europe, where the city takes
there's a church on,
land they're not using, and you can rent or
I have requested a few
garden plot,
times.
10 by 10. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I've requested, I live on a cul-de-sac, okay, and it's the biggest cul-de-sac in Shenandoah. And I live on that cul-de-sac, and I have lived there all these years, and this cul-de-sac has, what's my train of thought here? It's just been sitting there, and I feel like, I envision raised beds growing,
Tomatoes?
no,
Oh, don't eat tomatoes.
well, yes, tomatoes, yes. I just can't eat tomatoes, but yes, any kind of vegetables that people want to grow, herbs, whatever they want to grow. It's just, I feel like that's putting that property to good use. But when I requested it, I was told we couldn't do it because it belonged to the city. I don't think that was during this council though. It was before. I was told that we couldn't do that because it belonged to the city. And that's something that I am very adamant about.
Okay. James?
Since you've been there for 33 years, and you obviously talk to your neighbors and that sort of thing, and the people in the city government, what can you tell us about the satisfaction of the citizens with the current city council and or mayor or administration, or dissatisfaction?
I think probably for the most part, the people are satisfied. I do think they are, but they have made some comments that there's certain things that they don't take care of, they don't do, and,
Any examples?
well, the streetlights, for one thing, they're always out. And if you walk early in the morning, when it's still dark, I had a bad experience one morning, and I don't walk in the morning anymore.
Well, I know in my house, I put up lights that last for 16 years. Is there any reason why the city can't look into doing those type of lights? My guess is they use arc lights, and those do burn out.
I think they're solar lights, and they're like battery operated or backup or whatever you call it, I don't know. But
So the lights, what about the roads, trash? Does the city do trash pickup?
yes,
So
and they
on their other
recently-
services, are they doing okay for that or what?
Well, I've been wondering about the street sweeper, because they used to run it, we have sweep gun balls down in our cul-de-sac, and if you walk out and you step on those the wrong way, you can twist an ankle.
Sure.
So, and I've asked that it be run more than once a week, and they told me it couldn't be.
Do you feel like there's adequate police presence and that sort of thing?
I think our police do a very good job.
Good. Thank you. Deb?
Okay, one of our questions was what measures you propose to improve transparency and accountability, and you said that the website needs to be more open. Could you elaborate a little bit on that? Describe how you would, what recommendations you would make to make it more open?
A whole overhaul of that website. It's not user-friendly, and it's very hard to find stuff on that website.
Okay. And what stuff were you looking for that you had difficulty finding?
Well, the budget, for one thing.
Okay. Anything else?
I know, I was looking for something else. I don't remember. There was something else I was looking for too.
Okay. And so change is a constant thing. When's the last time that you were out there trying things? Maybe they've made it findable now? I don't know.
Just a couple of days ago.
Okay. Okay. Good enough. Larry?
Along that line, you mentioned that you asked for open records about the city attorney. I remember when we met at Eric's, you had mentioned something about that you've done a lot of open records requests. How many do you think you've done in the last, how long?
I know I did quite a few. I did quite a few. I have done quite a few. In fact, my husband and I were gonna have a carport built, and the city declined it. And so I drove around and wrote down every house that had a carport and did an open records request to see their plans and what they turned in for the city. And it just so happens that that one house that had the carport that I wanted to mimic, they had no plans or anything on file for that particular place.
Wonder how it got approved.
I don't know, but they certainly didn't approve mine. And I did have drawings.
On the debt, my question was, what is the city's bond rating? What is the current debt load, and is it too high? Where was major money spent, and was it done with borrowed money, or how did the debt be repaid? Please describe how you determine the proper debt load. And your answer was the debt load is not too high. Could you elaborate? Do you know what the
I don't,
current debt is?
at some of the meetings, I don't think, I think they had discussed that at one of the meetings I'd gone to, and I think it may have been the meeting right before they took over put the budget together. And I want to say they had been audited and that they had a very good rating. I don't remember all the numbers.
And you said they had a AA rating. And the debt load was not too high. Okay, John?
All right. You talked about you were suggesting doing a community garden and a community center. What size, you said it wouldn't be this big. You must have some type of idea how big it would be and how much would that cost? And how would you pay for it?
Well, I would first check to see if it could be used, if the hot tax could help pay for that, because it would be something to where the public could come if they needed to. Because I know that hot tax can only be spent like about, I think it's either 7 or 9 ways. And
Is that one of them?
I'm not sure, I'm still checking into that. I mean, I have a whole list of stuff that I've been checking into, but I'm not real sure, because from what I understand, if it draws people to the city to spend money, that's how it goes toward that's where the hot tax can be spent, any kind of an event. Like an art show, and they have people come to the art show, or something to that effect. Or some sort of a festival that they put on.
Okay. Dave?
So, your role as a councilwoman, how do you see that, your interaction with other government bodies? You live along 45, you got the county government, you got state government, you got TxDOT, you got the relationships with other towns along 45. So how do you see your role in interacting with those other government bodies?
Well, I haven't had to do that, so I really don't know. I mean, this is my first time to ever run for office, so I think I could do it if I needed to. I'm sure I could.
This is unique, right? Because you have 3 councilmen, 3 different precincts that Shenandoah's cut through, right? Is that right?
I know precinct 4 and precinct 2, and I think precinct 3 this way.
You get 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
So you can look at it, you have 3 people to work with, or you have, or you a stepchild.
Yeah.
James?
Okay. I would give you a stickler of a problem that I personally have had, and to see what you think a city like Shenandoah should do. In Oak Ridge North, we had a church and a shopping center there that wanted to move from the back to the front into a area that was nicer, larger, and hadn't been occupied in over a year. Had the landlord lease lined up and all that, but the city zoning required that we get approval from the city to do that, because if you're a liquor store or a church, you had to get special permission. Now that actually is a violation of state law. That'd be lawsuit, we weren't interested in that. So sure enough, we went to the city, I told our pastor, just move up front, we're in the same property. He said, no, we want to do everything just right, so he went and applied for, permission, I forget what they call it in zoning. And we went to the meeting of the city council, and sure enough, they don't really like churches in the area, because it's a smaller physical land property, not too different from Shenandoah. And the city council said basically they wanted to reserve that space for a business that pays sales tax. Because the churches are property tax and sales tax, and churches for some reason just don't want to do either one. Now in Shenandoah, the thing is, so much money comes from sales tax. So I could see there'd be the same conflict, because if a church wanted to come in and take up any reasonable amount of land, that would be commercial property that wouldn't be producing any property tax or sales tax. So what do you think would be the city council's responsibility to allow or restrict or what when the church wants to do something like that?
I believe that that would be a zoning issue.
Yeah.
And the city council tends to lead with what their decision is from the zoning committee.
Well, now keep in mind, it's the city council that determines what the restrictions are for city zoning. You think churches should have to get extra permission, that they shouldn't just be treated like any other business when it comes, because, the issues are travel, traffic and infrastructure, or do you also need to consider, well, they're not going to do any taxes for our city. Is that a valid issue in your mind? It's a hard one, isn't it?
It is.
We started at 6:30.
I don't know. That is I want to say yes, but then I want to say no. I mean, they shouldn't have to get any kind of special permit, I don't
Right.
think, just because they're a church. But
Well, I bring that up because you need to keep in mind, in city council, you're going to come across issues that aren't things necessarily you're interested in, but are a problem.
right,
That's all.
right.
Dale.
Go
Go ahead, sorry.
I would probably do some research on that and call around and see what other cities have done. And just
Well, don't
get-
call Oak Ridge North.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, let's look down to the future.
Okay.
You're elected. Your first council meeting. Okay, you want to cut spending. What are the things you're gonna bring forward that say, cut this, cut this, cut this, cut this? What are you gonna cut on day one? And obviously the days thereafter.
Well, I'm gonna start with the health insurance
Okay,
and then work towards, and I maybe considered the black sheep, but it probably won't be the first time, and it doesn't matter to me.
I like black sheep.
I beg your pardon?
I like black sheep.
Oh, okay. I would cut the health insurance for one, because I just cannot see the residents having to pay for council members' health insurance. And then just, the next thing would be to cut their salaries. I mean, I just,
So the councilman draw salary?
yes, yes.
How much is it?
I don't remember how much it's, I think the councilman, it's like 600 or 800, and then, the mayor, I think his is like 1,000, maybe 1,200, something like
Is that
that.
a month?
Yeah,
And I know from reading in the newspapers back when you had that city administrator making a ton of money and they got.
I could not believe they did that. But, I mean, someone to make that kind of money and not work for the city, no. I can't believe they let that go like that.
So health insurance, councilman's salary, what else?
I think that if they, what was it?
Any amenities you'd eliminate? I don't know all the amenities they have. Is there a city pool or anything like park, I guess?
No, they do have a city pool and a city park.
Would you keep that or?
Oh, definitely. And they do have it to where in fact, they're wanting to implement more parks. And that's why,
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
well, if one of them's a garden, it's a good thing. But I would definitely keep the pool. I would, because I use the pool. With my grandbabies, I use the pool.
Mm.
So, and they have learned to swim, so, yes. I would keep the pool.
Indoor pool, outdoor pool?
It's an outdoor pool. But it's a saltwater pool. It's a very nice pool.
Oh, didn't know that.
Yes, it's a very nice pool.
Hmm.
In fact, they have their swim meets there, so, and my grandbabies wanted to be on the swim team this year, but they missed it.
It stopped you.
Oh, sorry.
All right.
Um,
Yep, Larry.
And I've just got one quick one. We asked the question, what are the advantages, disadvantages of economic development partnerships? And I think John asked you that question earlier, and your answer was government isn't very good at economic development. Were you generally talking about federal government, or were you specifically talking about Shenandoah?
I guess just in general,
You know,
because I mean, look at our places we have right now.
yeah, 'cause I mean, Shenandoah takes in a lot of retail businesses, almost more than Wood District.
Yeah.
That's all I've got.
Well, I want to go back to something that you were remarking about Dale and the city administrator. And you said you couldn't believe it, but I'm not sure I followed you on what you couldn't believe that they did that. What does that mean, that who did what?
That the city council agreed to pay the former city administrator this huge salary and not be working for the city.
Who was not working for the city administrator?
Yes.
Are you talking, how's that work? Are you talking about a severance package or what?
I think it was in his contract that if he went away, that he would still get this large salary for like 18 months.
Okay,
Oh.
and so he had a golden parachute,
Yeah.
is what he had.
If that's what you want to call it.
And it was, if I recall, it was like 2 years?
I thought it was 18
Word.
months, maybe 2 years, I don't know. I thought
Yeah.
it was 18 months.
But wasn't that negotiated down before he left? I mean, they did, or did they pay him the whole thing? I thought I heard it was negotiated down.
I don't recall that being negotiated down.
Okay.
But I feel like the not the city administrator, the city attorney should have put something, he should have read, or when he drew up the contract, that shouldn't have gone like that. There was no reason for the residents to pay that big of a salary for someone that does not work for the city.
So is that the current, is that on the current board that did that? Or was that a prior board, or who set that contract up?
I believe that was a prior board.
Oh, okay. Okay. Dave?
So what's the sales tax percentage that the city collects? The state gets 6,
2%.
2%?
How's that broken up? Who gets what within the city? I heard there's some part in the city called the MDD? And what does that stand
That's-
for?
The municipal, development district, yeah. That's what it is, municipal
Oh, that's-
development district, yes.
Okay. All right, do you know what that split is? Obviously, they must split 2%. And do you know who gets what? I guess
I
the
do not.
city and the MDD.
I
Okay.
do not know.
Okay. And what is the MDD in charge of, their development district? What does that mean? Are they involved with what?
I think they kind of check out the parks, that kind of stuff, where the parks are to be built. They built a nice toddler park, and after they built that, there were some issues because it didn't have bathrooms for the small children. Then there were issues because there was no fence. So they put up a fence, but no bathrooms, so. But, I mean, I look at it from a mother's perspective because you're trying to potty train that child out there playing, and they need a bathroom. But most of the boys don't, but little girls do.
What about, is that all they're responsible for is parks? I mean,
No,
they
they're
only
not.
got so many parks. but-
No, it's not just that. Let me think here. I think they're also for the entrances, that kind of stuff, where they've got the lights and the real pretty brickwork and stuff.
What about all the development that's going on over there right now? Are they involved with all that?
I do believe they are. That's, there's, over there on the other side of the freeway, there's some development going on over there.
East side, San Moon? area?
Yes. Then they just had the cinema open. Then this over here that's gonna go in on Six Pines, that's the apartments.
Okay. James?
I asked you about tax abatements. I was at ExxonMobil before I retired, and I remember when we moved up here, well, I mean, I lived up here when they moved the campus just south of here, and we built the Hughes Landing building. Every business that's of any size, particularly in Texas, but almost everywhere, expects, if they're gonna go to a new area, they almost demand a tax abatement. And that particular company on Hughes Landing got a tax abatement from the county, and the Williams Township, but from the county for $10 million over 10 years, $1 million a year. And of course, any new structure, new business requires police, security, infrastructure, and all that.
Right.
But they're not paying for it because they don't pay taxes for that length of time. So my question to you is, since obviously business is very important to Shenandoah as a tax base, sales tax and all that, if a large business wants to locate in there, and like Amazon wants to build in Shenandoah, do you
I
think
thought about that.
do you think they should get a tax-free business experience? And if the large businesses should, why aren't small businesses given the same
Right.
benefit? What are the pros and cons, and how do you feel about that?
I don't think that they should, but being that they're the bigger dog, there's a good possibility. And I'm sure that the smaller companies would have a big issue with that.
Would you agree that small businesses should get the same treatment?
No. Especially when our city depends on the sales tax revenue.
Yeah, that's right. Now, to be fair, the large business will have to pay sales tax. I've never heard of that being abated. Generally, it's property tax and
Okay.
fees and that kind of thing that they're given a free ride.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll claim, the people that come up here will claim, oh, we won't do it unless we get it. That's never true. But
I would
every
not-
government gives it to them. You think that's okay?
No, I would not do that. I wouldn't vote for that.
Mm-hmm.
I would not vote for that.
All right, thank you.
Because I feel like just residential should get that. Now, that was one of the questions, the tax-free. Not tax-free, I don't know why I keep saying tax-free. That was one of the questions that I was gonna ask the gentleman at this city that has
No property tax.
right, for the past 25 years, if it was strictly for residents or if it was also for commercial property. I didn't get to ask him that because I was short on time yesterday, because I was just trying to see. But if it were me, I would not do that for the businesses.
I see, so you're saying residents, no property tax, but you would want businesses to continue paying
Yes.
a property. Okay, that's interesting. All right, thank you. Dale?
There's been a topic that has, seems to be all over the place in political discussions, but it's not ended up in discussions here or in your questionnaire. So give us your thoughts on mobility in Shenandoah. Is it fine as it is? Do changes need to be made? What are the issues and how would you deal with that?
We don't really have, well, are you talking about within the city or?
Yes, because that's your jurisdiction for city council, of course.
You know, we do have an issue on the freeway corridor here. There is a big issue here at Research.
How would you solve that?
And there's also an issue down there at Grogan's. I understand that they just recently passed I think it's an underpass. And I was not in favor of that. Because, number one, the flooding, if they put an underpass in. And because that area used to flood real bad 33 years ago. It was really bad. And I guess maybe they built it up, but I still wouldn't trust it. I mean, I've lived here all my life and I just would not trust that. What I feel like they should have done is made a right turn lane there. But was it up to me?
Well, usually they'll have traffic studies. Has the city of Shenandoah ever done a study?
I think they've tried to, they have along Wellman Road, and I think also along Grogan's Mill there, they've done traffic studies. And I think there have been some out here on Research too.
Okay, but you've never seen any results come out of those?
I haven't.
Larry?
Okay, well, this is go ahead.
Have you ever participated in any boards, or, you mentioned the MDD, does it have a board, is there any hospital district, any PTA, have you had any other leadership positions other than
I
the
have,
city council one?
I have been on the Civic Club, and I've volunteered with the Civic Club a lot. And I used to do a lot with the Civic Club when I first moved here. And then I went back about a year ago, and I don't have the time, because I have 2 little girls that I have to make my priority.
Sure.
So with that, are you gonna have the time to invest into the city council?
Yes.
Okay.
How much time does the city council take?
Well, at least 2 nights a month. And then sometimes there's extracurricular activities that the Civic Club puts on that they have council members appear at. but I think that's restricted to maybe 2 members at a time.
What about the research that's gonna be required to be a councilman in preparation for these meetings?
I believe those agenda packets come out like 72 hours ahead of time. So I think that's plenty of time for me to go through them and look through them.
But don't you contribute to those too as well? Through your research and anything else that residents want you to do?
Sure.
Okay, so, all right. Okay, well, this is a point where we kind of wrap it up, and you're welcome to take up to 5 minutes if you like to, on a closing statement for this position that you're running for.
Again, my name is Andrea Konzem. I've been a resident here in Shenandoah for 33 years, and I'm running for City Council Position 2. And the election is May 4th, and I hope to win.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate your time,
Thank you.
and good luck in your campaign.
Thank you.